Hey friends, Randy Jesson here with you again. Today we're going to be thinking together about the book of Philippians chapter 3. So if you have a chance to just sit down together as a group and to read Philippians 3, if you have someone just read it out loud. Sometimes groups have people read, a paragraph at a time or something like that. But if you have someone who feels confident just reading and just kind of sharing it, it's really great just to be able to read it aloud. We're looking at chapter 3, and you know that the book of Philippians, along with other New Testament books written by the Apostle Paul, were not written in segments like chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. They weren't even written in these verses like verse 1, 2, 3, 4. We think those are kind of built-in ingredients that help us locate different information, to help us segment information. But those chapters and verses were added much later. So if you really want to think about Philippians, you want to think about it as just a personal letter that the Apostle Paul is sitting down to be able to write to a group of friends. And it was intended not to be just read person to person. It was intended to be read aloud to the church. So a group of people gathered together, and someone who is designated as the reader would read it aloud to the people who were gathered. Many people weren't able to read in those days, and so it's a way that the message could be communicated. So if you think about it from that framework, it'll help you. But chapter 3 does have some important ingredients. Quite often, chapters and verses are divided and separated because of the change of thought processes. And so Paul changes his thought process beginning of chapter 3, and he offers a reminder, a bit of a warning, to be cautious for those people who might lead you astray. And he begins to talk about his own life journey, but he's really warning the people to stay the course, to stay the path. He talks about his own experience. He says, of all the things in my life, I consider them all to be really rubbish, garbage. My education, my personal experiences, everything in my life that has been important to me is really something that I could set aside from being known as a person who follows Christ and to becoming like him. That's Paul's goal, to become like Jesus. And so he warns them to stay away from the things that are going to lead them astray, and reminds them about how valuable it is to really know Christ and to become like him. And then he goes on to be able to talk about some of the ingredients. He talks about this towards the close of chapter 3. He said, all of us then who are mature should take the same view of things, and if on some point you think differently, that too God will make clear to you. Only let us live up to what we have already attained. So that idea that comes from chapter 3, verse 16, let us live up to what we have already obtained, is really critical. How many of us already know things about Scripture, what God calls us to do or to be, but we don't necessarily do them. We don't really invest. And Paul says, if you have these things already as a part of your background, a part of your history, part of your knowledge, part of who you really are, then live up to that. Then engage that and do that. And so Paul is offering a very clear message of encouragement and hope. As you read Philippians chapter 3, I really pray that God will use it to speak to you and to encourage you. It's intended to be a word of encouragement, and it is a great word, especially when you consider where it comes from. It comes from the heart of the Apostle Paul, who once was a very zealous Jewish persecutor of the Christian faith, who had this great history and heritage of education and expertise, who now becomes a fully absolute committed follower of Jesus because he encountered Christ on the road to Damascus. And so he comes at this whole matter of faith from a very unique perspective. and he's encouraging people to follow him, but not just to follow Paul, not just to create followers of the apostle, but to create followers of Jesus Christ, people who are in the process of becoming like Jesus. That's the heart of the book of Philippians. I hope that your study today is helpful. I hope that someday we have a chance to be able to join together face to face once again. That would be great fun for me. I want to always invite you to join us on Wednesday evenings at Starstone Fellowship in Parker for just a time of warm fellowship and great worship. But whenever that happens, that'd be great. I pray that the blessings of the Lord would rest upon you. Special blessings from Mark during this week, and we're grateful that you are meeting and faithfully and diligently living out your call. God bless you all. Look forward to seeing you soon.